Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react.
Hey, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Sean, and I'm glad I get to talk at you. Kyle is hanging out with me today as well. However, we gotta let you know, we are recording this quite early. As everybody knows, Kyle has spent the last several months gearing up for a Bike the West Wildly ride, or whatever it's called, Wild Wild West ride.
That's right.
So planning ahead, Kyle and I are on the phone to record some stuff. Kyle, part of the reason why you might sound a little funny too, to our listeners, you've got a lot of travel going on right now. Tell us where you're at, what you're doing as you prepare for the big ride.
Yep, I'm in the office at my parents' house right now, and I bought a little microphone at Best Buy, and so that's why I don't sound like I normally do. Hopefully this is going to work out.
So I'm wondering, did you buy a mic at Best Buy because you forgot to bring yours, or you just didn't think about it? Because we get talked, but we also talked about recording in a completely different context, so maybe it just wasn't on the radar.
No, so there's a difference between what happened and what everyone needs to know.
Okay.
I have a mic, right? That's the bottom line. We're recording right now.
I love it.
I'm hanging out with my dad today, and I am reminded of last time I was here. I had this scrape on my knee. It was a pretty good scrape where I needed a Band-Aid. So I was like, hey, Dad, will you stick a Band-Aid on my knee for me? All right, cool. So he gets the Neosporin, he puts it on there, it's white. And then, some Neosporin or antibiotic or bacterial or whatever, it's white, right? So He squeezes it on, he puts the Band-Aid on, oh, sweet, thanks. And then he sets the tube on the counter, and I look at it, and I'm like, what? This is hydrocortisone, which is basically used for, like, poison oak and stuff. Anti-itch cream. And it clearly says on there, for external use only. Basically, don't rub it in a wound. And I'm like, Dad, this is hydrocortisone. He's like, I know. You gotta have some juice in there. I'm like, all right. So, but I'm like, that is typical my dad. Like, so to a T. And I was laughing about it because this is the same guy that said mold isn't going to hurt you. It just doesn't taste very good.
I don't think that's true though. I mean, it doesn't taste good, but I feel like it could hurt you.
I feel like it could as well.
Maybe a little bit of mold on cheese won't be the end of the world.
Yeah, but, you can just cut it off, right?
Yeah, or maybe how long that mold has been festering.
Right. But then today, like, I was hanging out and we were having lunch, and I dropped a bag of chips on the floor. And some of the chips dribbled out onto the floor. And I grabbed one and I put it in my mouth. I'm eating them off the floor. And my dad comes over and he helps me by just grabbing one off the floor and eating it as well. I think it maybe can tell you a little bit about who I am. When I tell these stories about my dad, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, we've got a new element to the show this season. We're going to refer to this as, guess what? The way this is going to work, Kyle and I are just going to play a little game with each other, kind of get us warmed up for every episode. We're each going to choose an item in view, right, on our desk or around our fancy studios or wherever we may be at the time of recording, and we're gonna give each other the opportunity to guess what we have in mind. We are gonna set parameters such as you can only ask yes or no questions, and you only get 7 questions, and you have one final guess. Now, of course, you don't have to use all 7 questions if you don't want, but you certainly can't use 8.
Is there a winner each time? Like,
oh, yeah.
I think we...
yeah. If if I guess correctly, you owe me a Starbucks every time. If you guess correctly, I owe you a beer every day. I don't know what you're into.
I'm down for that, yeah.
All right, okay. And then we'll just tally it. And then whenever we get together, we'll settle our tab.
The score, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it. Today's Guess What game. Let's play.
All right, Sean, I've got my item right here. I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm looking at it, and I'll let you go start your 7 questions.
Okay. Is this an item that is common on desk? Or is it, basically, is it unique to Kyle, or is it on most desks?
It's very ubiquitous. Most everyone has this item.
Okay, so remember, it's yes or no.
Oh,
no,
excuse me.
I didn't ask the question very fairly. So it is it a common desk item?
Yes.
Okay. Is this item connected to your equipment, like the computer or printer? No. Okay. Is this an item you have to use every time you sit down at the desk?
No.
Okay. Could you use this item in other places other than your desk?
Yes.
Is that 4?
I think that's 4.
All right. Would this item be common in the living room?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay, so probably not a stapler, right? It's weird.
Was that a question?
No. I'm just commentary.
2 more questions.
Do you? Yep. Can you, or maybe do you, take this item with you when you walk away? Okay. So it stays on your desk. It's not an apparatus to the computer. I'm looking around my desk to see.
It's common in the living room.
Common in the living room. Oh. Would you find this item on the coffee table in the living room?
Yes.
Oh.
Is that 7?
That's my final question. I'm gonna guess.
Yep.
Your item is some sort of drink holder, coaster, carrier.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. You pulled it out at the last minute.
Yes. Thank you. I win. That's 1 Starbucks for me.
All right.
Well played. Those were good. That was good. Okay, my item. Kyle, you're up. My item I have in mind. Go.
Is it small enough to hold in your hand?
Yes.
Is it useful? Like, do you use it for something?
No.
Okay, I didn't even think that was a good question, but because most things are useful.
Yeah. I'm assuming that means like all the time, like commonly used on a regular basis.
Right.
So I'm saying no to that. It's not something I use.
It's not commonly used on a regular basis. Okay, got it. Man, I got way more out of that question than I... And does it sit on your desk?
Yes.
Is it electronic? Like, does it, I don't know, need power?
No.
Do you write with it?
Nope.
2 more questions. Does it hold things?
No. I mean, unless you count dust.
You said it's not used on a regular basis, but have you used it in the last week?
No. I haven't used it in years.
Great. All right. I have no clue what to...
I'll help. It's something you wouldn't use. It serves one purpose.
Why do you have it? I guess you can't answer that yes or no.
I use it, or I have it because it looks cool.
Is it a little statue?
You know what? No, but
that was my guess.
You're in the right space. It's just a decorative thing that sits on the corner of my desk. In fact, I'll show you. It's a little wicker ball. It's just here for looks.
Is it a little wicker ball that's just there for looks?
Yes, it is 100%. Now, I didn't expect you to guess wicker ball, but I thought you might land on some sort of statue or decorative piece and element.
Yeah.
But I want to point this out, Kyle. It's a wicker ball with a wicker ball inside of it.
Wow, that's so meta, dude. So the use for it, though, is just for decoration.
Just for
That's the one. Yeah. Okay, good.
Decoration. Yeah. So, good job, Kyle. Did we count that a win? A statue close enough?
I think I said statue or like art piece.
I'm pretty sure you didn't say art piece. But
maybe we can go back to the recording. I mean, is it a little statue?
I think that's close enough. You're in the right genre or category. So, with this, now you have if we say that is deserving of a beer, does that mean we're out of wash? Should we not owe each other anything?
Oh.
Or do we keep track and
I think we keep track, even if at the end of the season we each owe each other 16
the same amount?
Of whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then we'll have to make a note of that. Hopefully for our listeners, you recognize it's really just silly and fun. It's a way for us to warm up and maybe give you something to play along with as you drive or sit on the train or whatever, doing dishes, whatever you're doing while you're listening. We appreciate you listening, and we want to give you a chance to play along and see if maybe you're smarter than Kyle, or faster than Sean, or whatever it may be.
And we'll try and get a little better at this throughout the season.
Yeah. So thank you for playing along with Guess What? So, Kyle, I know part of the conversation today is based on some interactions you've had while traveling. So, Can you set that whole thing up for us?
Yeah, so I was in Truckee this weekend with some friends for a friend's 40th birthday party. And first of all, a lot of these friends are from high school, and there was 8 guys at a cabin in the woods. And it was awesome because we were just behaving like we were in high school again. So that's always fun. But during the day, they had skateboards and kayaks and mountain bikes and all this stuff. And they went out on their equipment, and I use a wheelchair. I don't have good balance. I have almost no physical ability in many of these things that we're doing. And so I literally couldn't do it at least the same way they do. And so I was left in the cabin. And no, it was fun. Like, no, there was no ill intent anywhere. And partly it was my bad because I could have done something. I could have figured out how to get a trike up there and at least participated in some of the stuff. Sure. Partly I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go hang out. Like, that's what it's really for. Like, if you boil it down, it's for us to hang out together and act like we're in high school again, Yeah. And so I just, I think it might be a common experience for somebody with a disability to really figure out what you can and can't do. And especially with a progressive disease like FA or many other diseases, I was much more able than I am now when I was back in high school. I was on the football team and I played volleyball, and I was on the ski team with these same guys. And, it's a little bit different now, obviously. And I don't know, sometimes I think it just takes a little like confronting the issue and figuring out how to make the best experience. Because it doesn't just happen. You really have to put some effort into being like, you know what, I need to get my trike up there to be able to participate, or I need to, whatever, have a ramp, make certain accommodations, and really think ahead to make the best experience possible.
Did everybody go into the trip thinking, oh, you're gonna be like in the cabin cooking dinner for everybody? Because I imagine everybody knows you. They've known you forever. I imagine there's some thought on their end like, hey, what do you want to do? Can we make arrangements for you? And did you let them off the hook? Like, God, don't worry about it. I got a book I can read. Like, I'm just wondering, there's a lot of different dynamics, I'm sure, on your end, your friend's end, and the accessibility aspect. So just curious,
that's a good question, because we did figure out the ramp thing, and this cabin was really not accessible. It had like 2 steps up into the lower level, and we were able to do that with a ramp. But to get to the second floor, I just got a piggyback ride, and we've decided all that ahead of time because we were trying to figure it out. And so, for this trip, the priorities were that it was a surprise party. So, like, everyone was really focused on not ruining the surprise and like setting all that up, right? So I think some of the things like the activity and stuff kind of were a second thought a little bit as to like just getting everyone there and hanging out,
Yeah, I hear you. It's easy to recognize there's always going to be something or several things we can't do right. So I guess I'm just wondering, with the mentality behind it all, would you do it again if this was an annual trip? And do you think you would approach it differently if it were a repeat trip?
Yeah, I think so. I think I would look around and see what kind of adaptive sports there are in the area. You know what? And maybe there's an adaptive mountain biking program. I don't know, but I know there's adaptive skiing in the winter. And so, for example, if we were going in the winter, I would look that up and see if that was an option, And next time I probably would figure out how to get my trike up there. I have a trike here at my parents' house in California. And, I think there would be a little more forethought into some of the activities, but really, I guess this time was focused on just getting up there. And I didn't even really think about it until I had a conversation with a friend. And she was like, "So, what'd you do this weekend at the cabin?" And I was like, "Oh, well, everybody else, went out and rode mountain bikes and skateboards and stuff. And I stayed in the cabin and answered emails and whatever. That was fine because I needed to." But then she was like, "So, how do you feel about that?"
Yeah.
And I'm even getting a little emotional right now because, like, on the surface, without really thinking about it, like, I'm like, it's fine. Like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. But then when I really think about it, like, absolutely, I would have loved to be out on a mountain bike. And I do hate the fact that I can't be out there and doing that stuff, right? And so, I think it's also healthy to simply recognize that that's a thing.
I wonder how your buddies think about it,
Yeah.
But I certainly want to agree with you. I do believe that it's healthy to recognize and even grieve the stuff that we can't do that, man, we wish we could, especially when all of our friends are doing it. So I do believe it's important to talk about it and to give that a little bit of light so that it doesn't stay bottled up inside you without you even realizing it.
Right.
But the other side of it, I wonder, not me specifically, but I could see somebody maybe new to the arena of disability holding it against your friends for leaving you behind.
Totally.
So how would you, wrestle with that or explain your perspective on that end? Because I'm sure you don't hold it against them, and I don't think you're bitter.
No.
So how do you deal with that, I guess?
I know they certainly did not feel great about leaving me at the cabin, and they were out doing their thing, To me, my first thought is, what the heck are we going to do about it? Why is it even worth talking about if there's nothing we can do about it, right? But at some level, I kind of wish I did at least say something, even to let them off the hook and be like, "Don't worry about me, I'll be fine." Maybe I did kind of say that without saying it, but we never really had the direct conversation about what are we thinking about this stuff. And
Going back to your comment about it being probably healthy to recognize, my heart breaks for people that are 15, 17, 20 years old, or even 12 years old, and they maybe don't have the emotional fortitude or the experiential fortitude to recognize that it's not shameful or embarrassing or their fault,
Right.
But I think about it, 14, 15-year-old being at school and having a completely different experience than most of their able-bodied friends. Think about those parents. Like, how do they help them walk through those life-altering events, Like prom or homecoming or the senior trip where everybody's going to hike Kilimanjaro or whatever it is.
For me, it's way different, right? Because I had a lot of high school experiences, at least without the wheelchair. I was never able to perform in sports or on a wakeboard or whatever as well as anyone else, but I was able to do those things. So I still have those experiences. I still have those connections with those guys, which would have been a lot different if I weren't able to participate in the activities. So I appreciate the fact that you point out, someone in a different situation has it very, very tough to integrate into high school society without activities.
Yeah. There's not a fix, right? It's not like
Right.
anybody's doing anything wrong and we need to do steps 1 through 5 and all this changes. But it caused me to think, what is the takeaway? What is the call to action, if you will? And to me, it's twofold. I would hope it's somewhat educational or eye-opening, to where when somebody sees something unable to do something, they're a little more cognizant of the perspective of them recognizing they can't do it and all the different emotions that go with that, whether it is feeling bitter or feeling left behind or feeling lonely or whatever else it may be. But also I hope that it's somewhat valuable to those people that are in that position, whether they are young or not. My hope would be that this reinforces the power of community, of all walks, whether it's people that are in the same abilities category as you, or people that love you and support you no matter what, like your buddies in the cabin who are fully able-bodied, but you find a way to coexist, right, even though you might find yourself on the couch a little bit longer.
Like I was saying, being proactive about planning ahead to create the best experience you can. But you're right. At some level, there's things you literally can't do, and it's not going to be the same. And so it does take that recognition. It does take that conversation, just a conversation about what's going on in my head. How do I feel about it? You know, I was saying I didn't really think about that, and we think it's really important, but also the conversation with the friends as well. Hey, you guys, you know what? There's nothing we can do about this, and we all don't feel good about it, but don't worry about it. Like, this is just the way it is. So I'll see you when you get back. I don't know if it's something as direct as that, but I think that's a piece of it.
I'm reminded of like marriage counseling or relationship counseling, right? They encourage you sometimes to talk about your feelings. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. This is how it's made me feel when you do this or say that or whatever. And maybe that's half the battle. It's just being able to express and wrap your head around those things, whether they can change or not. Maybe that's independent of the processing piece of it.
I agree.
Well, now that we've made everybody feel bad, I do want to wrap with this. We've said it multiple times. Even in the midst of rare disease and progression and all the things going wrong in life with health and ability, there is no quick fix, right? We know we can't change a lot of things, but even in the midst of starting the podcast, and we've said it multiple times, just talking about the things that are hard, maybe it makes things a little bit easier or more manageable. So at the very least, I'm glad we had the conversation and hope that our listeners find something they can lean on as well. So with that, let's wrap up with some thank you notes, Kyle. As everybody knows, well, if maybe you're a new listener and you don't know, but we end every episode with thank you notes. We believe in the power of just expressing gratitude. So Kyle and I have made a commitment to express a note of thanks every episode. So Kyle, who or what are you saying thank you to today?
Another one of my neighbors. I've talked about one of my neighbors, Joan, but this is another neighbor, Maggie, and she's been there for several things. Like when my wheelchair got delivered, she helped me put it together. She's taken out my trash multiple times for me, and I got a letter from my HOA, and it was about the weeds in my front yard, that they were a little too shaggy and they were growing into the air conditioning unit and all this stuff. So Maggie came over and she helped me pull weeds, man. Like, how great is that? So it's just really nice to have someone that you can call for almost anything, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. My thank you is to another program or app or a thing, right? Several months ago, I started using Grammarly. It's a writing app, right? It helps you understand and kind of message correctly in the right words. And basically, it's a grammar etiquette program. And it's made my life so much easier in terms of what it's catching and what it's teaching me if I pay attention. So I'm thankful for that program.
Does it work for just composing email? Like, it works for everything, or is it only compatible with a few apps or something?
You can give it as many permissions as you want. But yeah, you can use it on email, you can use it in Google Docs, Word, you can use it as an app, so you can just upload what you want and see what feedback it gives you, or it constantly is running in the background on your desktop. It's really up to the user.
I have noticed that your sentence structure and choice of words has gotten a lot better lately.
In speech or in writing?
Only in writing.
Yeah,
it must be the Grammarly.
I'm not certain. It must be. It has to be. I don't think I apply all the lessons it teaches me in speech. So, Kyle, thank you for bringing up a sensitive topic today and being willing to chat through all of that. Of course, I wish your dad all the best in his endeavors of being MacGyver or whatever is needed. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We look forward to chatting with you again soon. Until then, keep living with urgency.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to donate.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.